In this video, we'll discuss what reverse veil piercing is and how it works. And this video topic comes to us from Trey Tuckfield because he commented on one of my videos. And while you're at it, please make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment of your own if you have any questions about anything. Trey asks, "Thanks for taking the time to make these videos. Could you do a separate video on a reverse veil piercing and how it works? Thanks." Sure thing, Trey. So what is a reverse veil piercing? Well, literally, it's the reverse of veil piercing. In a traditional veil piercing, the business is sued by a claimant, and that claimant can quote-unquote pierce the corporate veil to reach the business owner's personal assets. Now, a reverse veil piercing is literally the opposite of this. In this situation, the business owner is sued personally by a claimant, and that claimant can quote-unquote reverse pierce the corporate veil to reach the assets inside the business owner's business. So how does this work in the real world? Well, this happens when an individual is sued by a claimant and that claimant wins in court and they get a judgment against that person. When they try to reverse pierce the corporate veil, that claimant tries to reach that person's interest in LLCs and corporations that they own to satisfy the claimant's judgment. And this can happen when you get into a car accident, you don't pay back a loan, or you're individually sued for breach of contract. Now, can someone actually try to reverse pierce the corporate veil? Well, the answer, unfortunately, is yes in some circumstances. A few years ago, a California court held that reverse veil piercing is appropriate in limited circumstances. And this can happen when the entity is an LLC and the creditor can't collect from that person by using other available remedies. I must mention that reverse veil piercing is not common right now, but it could be in the near future. And another thing I should note is that a lot of this depends on the state where the LLC is located. If you're in a state that has stronger asset protection laws like Wyoming and Nevada, you likely won't be subject to a reverse veil piercing. However, if somebody's in a weaker asset protection state and they engage in wrongdoing and then are later sued personally, reverse veil piercing may be appropriate in that circumstance. So what are some scenarios where reverse veil piercing can happen to you? Now, I must mention that I'm not here to bash single member LLCs. In a lot of cases, they can come in handy. But if you have them in a weaker asset protection state and you're sued personally, then there may be a slight chance that a reverse veil piercing could happen down the road in specific circumstances. How exactly do you avoid a reverse veil piercing? Well, the first thing to do is to be ethical when dealing with other people. You want to make sure you're conducting your affairs ethically and that you're careful in dealing with other people. The second thing to do is, in the event that you're sued, don't funnel money from your personal bank account into your single member LLC bank account. Now, again, I'm not doing this to bash the single member LLC because those come in handy in a lot of situations. But if you engage in wrongdoing and you're trying to transfer those funds into your single member LLC account, then in that case, reverse veil piercing could be on the table in some circumstances. And this is especially true if you're trying to defraud creditors. If you do that, the court could view that as a fraudulent transfer and could void it, meaning that you're going to have to pay that creditor back. And the third thing to do is that if you're sued, it may be best to settle the case before trial. And this is because if you're sued, you take the case to trial, you drag it out, you lose in court, and eventually you don't pay back that creditor. In that situation, a reverse veil piercing will be far more likely to happen. And if you have any other questions about reverse veil piercing or veil piercings in general, you can always buy a copy of my dad's book, Veil Not Fail. This is a good book because it breaks down the specifics of the corporate veil, and it's really informational, and it can benefit a lot of business owners out there. I also have a new book called The 5 Tricks to Teach Your Kids About Money. You can download the book for free by clicking the link in the description below. If you're looking to start a business, you can schedule a free 15-minute consultation with us at Corporate Direct by also clicking the link in the description below. And as always, please make sure to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and turn on that notification bell. And I should warn you, the contents of this video are not legal advice and no attorney-client relationship has been formed.